Today we are joined by Chris Ndairagije. He is a Burundian author and passionate Pan-Africanist who has written a very informative book called Africa, the Rising Economic Power. Hello and welcome, Chris. Very, very happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you very much, Phillips. I greet you and I greet all your viewers. So my name is Christopher Ndairagije. I'm Burundian living in South Africa for the past 20 years. This book is an urgent call to all 55 countries, especially our leaders. They will be meeting soon in the African Union General Assembly. Is an urgent call of this 7 point. The first and the most important call is the creation of continental taxes to each goods and services that are exchanged to every African country. The private sector will be going there to collect these continental taxes. The second point, it will be then to create our own IMF and World Bank. We are capable of doing that. The third point will be to build two infrastructures which are under Agenda 2063, is integrated high-speed railway to complete it, and Grand Inga Dam, electrify all our capital cities and commercial cities, and to be able also to link all our capital cities with a fast railway. These two projects, they are the main project under Agenda 2063. They are lacking finances and they are able to change the whole Africa for good. The fourth point, we have got African standby force, which must be ready and must be strengthened to the level that is capable of going to every African country and stop any terrorism and stop also any coup d'etat. And we are able to do that ourselves. Point number 5 is to prepare a new constitution for the Pan-African Parliament, which should be done in terms of language. We've got 2,200 languages. It should be a base, as we know, with the Agenda 2063, which is on the process of being implemented, which by 2063 will be able to be united as one continent, one country. We have to base our unity in terms of languages instead of in terms of countries. We know languages are crossing borders. It will help us to unite by respecting our diversities. The name Nigeria, the name Kenya, the name Zambia, all those names are coming from one tribe within a country called Zambia or Nigeria, where there are many languages that don't understand each other, but they stay together. So there's no reason that we cannot stay together as one and have prepare this parliament on the process, have election which represent all the languages, and they elect their president, which by 2063 will be able now to unite as a united Africa, not as United States of Africa, in considering languages as a base. Number 6, it is to dissolve all the sub-regions. We've got almost 39 sub-regions. We know few of them, of course, ECOWAS, East African Community, SADC, only the continent of Africa with such a huge number of sub-regions, where one country, for example, Kenya in your country, belongs to 10 of them. And all of them, of course, they're seeking market, but behind they're also seeking projects that are financed by the West. But once we look at the continental scope and just support the African Trade Agreement Secretary, which is in Ghana, we will be able to move much faster. The last one is the point about industrialization. Africa is capable of industrializing itself within 10 to 20 years. But government themselves to initiate finances, the way they initiate finances for roads and infrastructures, they go and open industrial area. They import machineries which are cheap now because of competitiveness in terms of machines in Asia. They are able to open industry areas and then sell those industries when they are reaching on growth phase. Usually it's 2 to 3 years or 4 years. They sell to private sector. They don't keep them. It is the purpose. They look at the product they usually import, not strategic sector only, on the normal product, whatever is shoes, whatever is computers, whatever it is, they just open those industries and they sell to the private sector. And private sectors, they lack usually to buy companies which are already operational to reduce their risk of entering into the market. So the last one, which is a conclusion, is to call to all Pan-Africanists to stop talking about the past. Speaking about the past is not necessary. We spoke about European Union. We know enough those informations. Now Russians are coming, Indians are coming, Pakistanis are coming. Once they come because they see the emptiness for us not to do anything which is really strengthening us. The only ultimate solution for Africa is Africa's financial independence from the West, from IMF, World Bank, Exim Bank, and ISMED Bank from China. Once we create that institution, we'll be able really to deal with the problems that we have. And we are in trouble. Our population gonna triple. We are moving from 1.3 billion people to 2.8 billion people by 2060 to 4 billion people by 2000. If we don't do now something, we make together our 54 market with this integrated high-speed railway, we electrify our continent, we will be in trouble. We're not going to have industrialization in our continent. We're just going to eat each other. I'm sorry to use this strong word. It's so urgent that we have to act now, and no one going to act for us. You have seen with this COVID-19 how really they didn't even help us about the vaccine, while we were expecting we were under a globalization. So we have to enter into the globalization with full force, with our own finances, and you are capable to really create an institution which can be able to really become like IMF and World Bank, even if combined with, when we look at the statistics out there, we are capable of doing that with continental tax that we can establish every African country. Thank you very much. If you have questions that we can go ahead.
Yes, I do. I'm thinking about the issue of introducing a continental tax as a plan from rising up from poverty. But for instance, in a country like Kenya, where accountability of public bodies has been very low, and it has been embarrassing and even painful to the people. People are contributing money, for instance, to a COVID fund. 1.3 billion shillings was given by Kenyans to, privately help the government be able to deal with COVID. But then what happened is that this money has disappeared. And then also we have so much corruption in public bodies, public institutions, that money is lost. It's like you open a tap and the water is just running down the drain. Is there going to be a possibility of us actually being able to give money to one central place as Africans, and trusting that the money is not going to be stolen, trusting that it's actually going to be put to good use? How do you see that happening?
First, thank you very much for that question. That question keeps being reason when I'm trying to explain these continental taxes. Usually, these 55 countries under African Union, they will sit down and create what I call Pan-African Infrastructure Fund. It's an institution which kind of tax union. It will go there with the private sector. It is the private sector that will go there. This institution will be given enough rights to sit on each African countries. First, they will have to help each African country to be able to increase. We have to know that the tax base is too narrow in Africa. You must know that our economy is almost 50% informal sector. So they will help these countries to first to help them to improve on taxation by rebasing their economies. That's the first thing that we do. Rebasing economies is about trying to get statistics to each African countries. For example, Nigeria in 2015, they did statistics. They thought it was $270 billion economic GDP, but they discovered they were at $510 billion. This has helped them to increase on taxation. The same as Kenya, I think it was 2010, they did that. They become lower middle income by they found they grew 20%. Because we depend to statistics for the last 30 years. This helped to increase taxation onto places where and then create new taxpayers. This is very important. This institution will go and establish itself there with enough power as a separate entity to separate local taxes to continental taxes. The second one was asking, is it feasible? Yes, it is feasible because remember, between 1970 and 1994, Nigeria has created what is called Mandela tax. This Mandela tax was collecting 2% to every government worker's salaries. And they managed to collect $61 billion for 20 years to help Southern Africa to come out of apartheid. This happened by themselves. They seated together as a government around Obasanjo, and they said, look, we have to make sure that we collect this money. We have to liberate these countries. They're suffering in Southern Africa. They managed to get $61 billion, where their economy was, GDP was almost $50 billion in 1990s. Now their GDP is $600 billion. And when you look at GDPs of Africa, 55 of them countries, they've grown almost tenfold since the past 20 years. And Europe they did grow only twofold. So we are capable of having these finances. When we talk about the accountability, corruption, and so on, it is the private sector to go and collect on behalf of the African Union. It is the only, even if you collect 70% of what you're supposed to collect, we will succeed. So corruption cannot make us really not to do that as a problem. And then we have to know that since 1960 to now to 2022, that's when we started to collect taxes, when the colonizers went, and then we started. We did grow. We remember that many countries, they were dictators. They used to take the whole budget at home. It's not the case. Governments in Africa, they manage to collect efficiently taxes. Only the problem is that it should be more in the informal sector, and enlarge the tax base and use more technology to collect money, more money as it's supposed to. The other point, tax in Africa is 3 times lower than Europe. And Europe has started to tax, they tax more, 3 times than Africa. Like personal income tax in Kenya is 30%. In Nigeria, income tax is 24%. And when you look, most of the European countries, they are at 45%, 50%. Some of the countries is 65% on personal income. That started from 1916, when there was World War I. And World War II, they increased because they wanted to create infrastructures, railways, that they can be able to supply their industries, goods that they should be able now to increase on their economies and be able to fight. And so that was the first reason. But after that, they did it to control other countries. So as European taxpayers suffer to control Africa, it is time for African taxpayers to suffer and to protect and develop Africa. African people have developed enough, a lot of countries. Now it's time that we develop our continent through continental taxes. And we are capable of doing that. And I'm sure if I explained what it's all about, if it's to create our own IMF and World Bank, they will easily and really support the continent to be able to do that and achieve the goal that we want to achieve.
If they're able to actually prove that they are actually doing something with the money, maybe it's something they can grow towards. Because right now, I don't know, the tax regimes seem to be used more as a tool for oppression of the people and exploitation than they are actually used to gather money and build for a common interest, which makes me also wonder, is it possible to convince 55 nations who have not even vigorously implemented the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement to shelve their national aspirations and come together to build a continental dream and vision, infrastructure, and so on and so forth? Meaning that they're actually accepting that resources are going to be diverted from national interests towards a continental good. Do you think that that's realistic, that they will willingly set aside their own ambitions?
Yeah. Yes. So in terms of economics, I think they will accept, they will do that. Let's give you an example of, like, for example, Uganda. Uganda, for example, when they produce bananas, they don't get where to export their bananas. Burundi, this time they produce a lot of mangoes. They don't get the market, and those things are thrown away because there's no enough market. Why? It's not because they cannot take it into Tanzania, they cannot take it to Kenya, and so on. It's because there's a lack of this infrastructure. Remember, Africa is too big, it's huge. It's almost 30 million kilometers square. And we have got 1.3 billion people within those kilometers square. You must remember that United States of America surface area, you added to India, you added to China, you added to European Union, you added to Argentina. These 5 countries alone, they have got equal surface area of Africa. It means 30 million, 29 million, I think, 30 million kilometers square. But then they've got 3.6 billion people. You see, as we've got 1.3, Africa is empty. So now for them to exchange goods, while they are producing one market, small market, then they want to produce more, they end up having this product on their own small market. It is very important that they be able to have this integrated high-speed railway that is faster enough that every good is exchanged at every corner of Africa. They will accept because of their comparative advantage. If you have bananas, you have flowers in Kenya, you have got bananas in Uganda, you have got beans in Burundi, you have got potatoes in Rwanda. Obviously, you want tomatoes. So you want this to reach in Gabon in less than 1 hour. You want this to reach in Ethiopia in less than 1 day. You want this to reach in South Africa in less than 2 days. But now it's taking weeks. Even if this trade agreement that we signed cannot be successful without this integrated high-speed railway, looking at the size of the continent. It is the same as having Congo DRC. They don't need this trade agreement. Their provinces, they are far enough each other, and they don't share their own goods within each other. There's no barrier there. They don't share this good because there's a lack of infrastructures. The fact that we are happy that we've got this trade agreement, but it will fail in this Agenda 2063. We fail because of lack of finances. It's a question of time. And we are in trouble. We just have to act because we will be having 3 billion people for the next 30 years ahead. So we don't have a choice here. It's an emergency. That's why our organization is calling all Pan-African African people to join us. That every General African Union, General Assembly, we go there, we impose this idea of creating our own finances, and then we'll be able to create these continental infrastructures and these electrified capital cities as early as possible. It is not just we just want to be developed. It is a problem. It is a problem into our door. We have to act, and no one will help us. We've seen with COVID-19, the way they collected money for their own. For COVID-19, we must do it ourselves. We must collect our money. We have enough money to be able to have IMF and World Bank assets combined ourselves. We are able to create $1 trillion within a decade after we've built these infrastructures with continental taxes.
Yeah. No, I agree that the resources that Africa needs are actually in the hands of Africans or in the land of Africa. That one I agree with you very much. And I do know that we have much more than they're saying. And that, you know, as you have described it, we have enough capacity to feed ourselves, to look after ourselves if we actually focus on ourselves. So I agree with that part for sure. I'm still uncomfortable with the idea of tax. I think it's because of my own personal pain that I have experienced at the hands of taxmen. Maybe we don't call it a tax, and maybe we don't look at it as a tax, but we look at it the way that African communities would do it. It's a pool of resources, you know, a communal fund for Africa's growth, an Africa Growth Fund that people will contribute to voluntarily. But there has to be a lot of transparency around how it's collected and how it's being spent. How do you address the issue now of transparency? Who do you envision managing such a fund and rolling it out?
So yes, I understand. As I said, 55 countries, they sit together, they create Pan-African Infrastructure Fund. It must be an organization which has got enough power to go out there and create continental taxes. They will work with the private sector. There's enough private sector out there internationally. You just show them, go and collect this money. They will collect this money on our behalf. They might not collect 100%. They might collect, for sure, they will collect 80%. We will succeed to get 80% at least. So to collect them, and these other things are technical aspects. We have first to agree on the philosophical aspect. Do we need this fund? That's the first one. Then we go to the aspect of how we can collect this money efficiently. The only way is the private sector to collect that fund on our behalf.
Why do you believe so strongly in them?
Yeah, because there are many. They do that in many countries, and then it's easy to do that. And I think we have no choice. First, I say we have no choice. Secondly, the fact that people don't like taxes, we can call it contribution, but you must remember out there's what we call assessed contribution. Countries that should contribute to the African Union, 50% of them every year, they are not paid. You see, we have to accept that weakness and say, okay, let's create a continental infrastructures that we go there and collect. The fact that we can say, okay, we're not going to trust them, the accountability, the money, that's now, let's start. And that question will be on the process, the question to study, and then we'll be able to deal with that. The fact that we can say, no, let's not do it because there will be corruption. No, it's not true. We usually collect taxes, even if there's a corruption. And also, if African people, I'm sure they will support that idea. And also, the tax that are charged in Europe at 50%, no one likes the taxes, but the fact that they are helping us somehow, we accept them. So I think the people will accept taxes, and then it's not even too much. You can imagine we're about to spend $300 billion for the next 10 to 15 years, 10 years from now, $300 billion on buying data in Africa, on spending on data. Imagine if you get something there, you can get money. We are about to spend 250 million air ticket every year in Africa. We can get taxes there. It's just about adding any single thing. So it won't even affect our lives at all. Nigeria VAT tax, it is on 7.5%. In Europe, there are more than 25%. In Kenya, 16%. In Rwanda, I think it's 18. In Burundi, 17, around there. So look at yourself how is so low, and that if you even add 1%, it won't even affect the economies or life of our people. That's the very important thing that we should know. It won't affect our people. The second one is a technical aspect. How can we collect them efficiently? There are many ways. The only good way is to use the private sector and to have a positive mind to know that starting from there, we'll gradually make it, perfect it, and make sure that corruption is ending. But we have to start collecting our own finances.
Yes, no, I definitely agree with you, because the dependency of this continent on foreign aid, on handouts, on loans from foreign countries has actually contributed to our imprisonment. And it's very, very devastating. And we really need to break out of it. So if there is a way to do this, then yeah, I mean, we need to look into it as a priority. So you see these funds as being allocated specifically to the Inga Dam and to the high-speed railway and the Africa Standby Force? Or how else do you see it being allocated? If it were possible for us to actually,
Yes, the fact that we have to start, there are 10 main projects on Agenda 2063, but this integrated high-speed railway is so important because it will connect 55 markets that we can be able to interact and share goods under our trade agreement. This is the first important point, which integrated high-speed railway. The second point is that 30% of African countries are landlocked. And these countries are the poorest country in the earth, and they are the richest countries in terms of minerals. So once there's this high-speed railways, because some of the minerals are so heavy, you cannot use the road to transport them to the sea. So they will be able to increase wealth, unbelievable. The way we see Sweden and other countries in Europe, these countries will be the richest really, instead of being the poorest in the world. These are two things under integrated high-speed railway, the very important thing to do. We see our GDP in Africa growing and doubling, just having this integrated high-speed railway, and to increase a lot in terms of investment in the continent. The Grand Inga Dam, it has got installed capacity electricity of 40 to 45,000 megawatts. So of installed electricity. So this is capable of giving each Africa 500 to 700 megawatts of electricity each. So we are able to have a stable electricity at each African country. So you should know that 50% of African countries has got, as we speak now, less than 500 megawatts of installed electricity. So there are countries which has got, like in our country, I think it's around 200 now. They are trying their best. They are doing good. They are trying their best to to have more electricity, but it's still very low. So there are many countries out there in Africa. When investors come, they get the electricity today, and tomorrow there's no electricity. They obviously not be able to industrialize Africa. So we have got this Grand Inga Dam, which already many studies have been done, but they never want to finance it. In 2014, the World Bank accepted to finance it because there was so many pressures to do that. They found that it was so important for Africa to get this electricity. But when they started, they accepted, they started, and there came an organization which is called International River. This NGO is fighting very good time against this Grand Inga Dam. By 2014, they approached the Congress of United States of America. They asked them to vote against the financing of this Grand Inga Dam to the World Bank. You know, when the United States say no at the World Bank, nothing happened. So they stopped this financing. And the World Bank decided, okay, we're going to just finance little, small project on solar, on these other things. But this is not enough to industrialize Africa. We need this Grand Inga. It is inevitable. This International River did not stop there. It came here in South Africa in 2019, and they went also to the Congress now. To the parliament. They explained to the South African parliament that they should not support, because South Africa was having this plan to build, to finance the Inga Dam, because this is Inga 1, Inga 2, Inga 3. Inga 2, South Africa wanted to finance it. So you have to pass through those stages to be able to build the Grand Inga Dam. So now this NGO came and used local NGOs to go out there and to say, no, this will burden the country in terms of loans. But now you can see this, now they were deviating of their initial purpose of fighting for, I don't know, the environmental aspects and so on. But the studies that have been done by many companies that they're supposed to build, the World Bank, they're supposed to build the Grand Inga Dam, they showed exactly that there won't be any ecological, any environmental problem on building this Inga. So you can see clearly that without our money, we'll always be delayed, and Africa will stay into dark. The more we don't have enough electricity, the more we go deep into trouble. And this really is not acceptable. Even if you're one of your politicians who is in charge of the African Union, Mr. Odinga, he is the one who is in charge of these infrastructures. We see them struggling to get finances. Going to the West, they don't get, now they're trying to get money to the private sector in Africa. It also might not be really helpful. We have to create our own IMF and World Bank, then we'll be able to handle these continental infrastructures. And then we go into local and regional infrastructures. This is very, very key.
With the interference from the West, from the people like these international rivers and people like Soros and the US government and so on, in investment into Inga Dam and into other things in Africa. For instance, how they killed Gaddafi and all the coups that they've started on the continent and the different problems that they have created for the continent of Africa to prevent Africa from moving forward, such as the opposition to the GERD in Ethiopia and other things that are going on. How will we safeguard an African fund created through taxes to ensure that we are actually able to achieve our goals?
Yes, that's a good question. We have, you see, the problem that this president are killed every time is because they act separately. So we have to act as a group. That's why we don't have to let a president to be a kind of show like he's in forefront of this kind of strong ideas. We have to make sure that all presidents act one time at the same thing. I don't think at that stage in 1960s, Europe wanted Africa to create African Union. So it was an initiative that they took all together, even if this initiative of African trade agreement, you see, it has been successful just overnight. So if we sit together and decide, look, we are creating this, not to let one president to try to promote this alone, or one organization to try to promote this alone. This won't work. We'll be delayed every time. Africa is growing very fast, and Africa is multiplying. The way Israeli people in Egypt, they are growing, they are multiplying, but Pharaoh was angry and jealous. We won't miss our Pharaoh. There will be someone to always delay us. But this cannot stop us to think much harder and get strategies. But the first strategy we must have is to be able to act as one. As the Pan-African, there's a lack, there's emptiness of Pan-Africanists to go behind as an activist to push our leader, because we have that right, because these institutions belong to us. Those presidents, they always go and come, different presidents. But there's emptiness of Pan-Africans to be there instead of going and be on TV and speak what is happening, just complain what is happening. We must stop complaining urgently. We are in trouble. We are in trouble. So we have to make sure that our intrinsic innate value that we have, given by God, not by people. I'm not free because United States gave me rights. I'm not free because the Charter of Human Rights gave me right. I have my own intrinsic value given by God. So what belongs to Africa should belong to Africa. Simple as that. It does not mean we might not share with others, but at the equal level. So we have to make, this is responsible. It's a huge responsibility to us. It's very hard, it's very difficult to see 55 presidents go every year to meet one president, 55 presidents, taking almost like you are taking one plane. You are going to meet one president who promised you 30 billion, which will come just like that. You will see that they will go from Turkey, one president, okay, I see you have a problem, I will help you. 50 billion will come. They will come. We don't know how they come. They go to Russia again, 55 countries. This is really bad. It's not bad it shows that our presidents are desperate. They are good presidents on this generation, but they are desperate. And when they are on high place, we have to go to the high place to see that Africa really does not belong to Africans. It will only belong to us when, as activists, impose the proper way of taking care of Africa. And this corruption order, they will gradually end as we are becoming more independent financially. We have to be financially independent from the West, and we have now to create our monetary system. Because when you have a big market, then you're able to create a monetary system. Then you can make available as much money as possible to African people. Because the difference between me and the European person is because they've got enough money in their pockets. So, and money is created. Money can be created. You just have to create a big market, and big market can only be created by infrastructures that are making this 1.3 billion interacting, exchanging any type of good, and then you can create a monetary system with Afro, our currency, then back it up with gold and so on, make sure that it's known internationally, then you make available as much money to our people, then they start to produce as what Chinese are doing. Simple as that. But first, to reach on that level, we must make sure that we are free financially, because there will be diplomatic influence to make sure that this one country is voting against, this other country is voting against. But what we can do, me and you, as Pan-Africans, or the other person, Pan-Africanists, is to pressure and to create division and debate and division among our leaders until we impose that they vote, because we have the right to tell them, look, this idea, you must vote it within you. We know we're going to always be divided. You must vote it because this continent belongs to us. So from there, then we can do. So in conclusion on that question is that I cannot say we're not going to miss enemies, but if we act together, we easily succeed. It won't take you 3 years from now not to really create this continental tax. Then to be technical aspect now to follow how it can be created.
Thank you very much for sharing. Maybe we can continue the conversation in another interview. For now, are there any other thoughts you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, I really appreciate for this interview, and I said thank you so much. If you can send email if you want to join us, that we can prepare ourselves. There's no money involved. We are not asking money. You just come with your own ticket. We go, we meet each other to African Union General Assembly. We won't do it this year, but we do it next year. Then we go at the door. We ask them to implement this project. So we want you to register at panafricandestiny@gmail.com, and that we can do this divine call. It's a call, and this generation, at least we can put these proposals at the table for our president, And this will really help because they can act behind us and showing this powerful institution at the West, say, look, these our people need this to be done. And then it will be also a way out of escape with them, for them to be able to implement that. So we are calling you to register. And then we have to believe in the Lord. We have to believe in God. So everyone, whoever, every diversity, wherever you are, white, black, Muslim, anybody, you have to join us that we go. This is political, it's not religious. I'm not a pastor. We have to go and act and get back our country, that we can be able to work with our brothers who are white, Chinese, and Indians. We all come from God. We have to have the same equal right and enjoy all what God has left for us. You can also get our book at Amazon. The name, as I said, is Africa, the Rising Economic Power, is in French as well. We also have a TV, a channel, Africa Rising Soon TV, where I did explain much further about all these ideas. So if you have questions, you can still send to our email. We try to respond, and we appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Phillips. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're so grateful for you and for your time and for your passion and enthusiasm for Africa. For all those who are watching, please let us know what you think in the comments section below this video. Like he said, if you'd like to reach him, his email address is available. We will also put it in the description section below this video so that you can get in touch and have a direct interaction with Chris over these issues, these very pertinent and very serious issues that he has shared about the continent of Africa. We appreciate you may have divergent opinions, no problem. As you can see, we asked him questions because we have our own challenges about some of the thinking, but he has a very solid belief and idea to share with you. So we welcome dialogue, we welcome questions. They make us better and they make us grow. So thank you for watching. Please like, share this video, kindly comment abundantly. We're very interested in conversing with you about this very, very important issue. And please share the video with your friends and your contacts so that they can also find out more about the possibility of transforming Africa's economic future, which is an urgent need that we have as a people so that we can quickly come to the place of true independence from all the slavery that we have endured. And I mean, even the present day neo-colonialist slavery that we have endured. So thanks once again for your time. And let us know what you think.